Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm the Doc, the DOC from the 313. Happy Sunday, everyone. Hopefully, you're enjoying your afternoon. Good Sunday out there. Lots of news to talk about with the Detroit Lions. Always something to break down. We got to talk about it. Got to talk about the news of the day regarding the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. Look, not going to sell you that the Lions are going to land a player that is coveted by many NFL teams. He could end up back with the Bengals. But we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Trey Hendrickson. Got to talk about what Dan Campbell said about Hendon Hooker. The Lions don't want any injury risk potentially with Kyle Allen. So that means more of Hendon Hooker this week. It just tells me the battle, like I said yesterday, the battle's over. But how much can Hendon Hooker raise his stock? We got to talk about it because you're going to see a lot of 53-man projections. We did ours this morning, which you can check out at Lions on SI. I think it would be a big mistake to keep 3 quarterbacks on the Lions roster. It's quite simple. You need that spot potentially for somebody else. I think that you risk it. You take the gamble. If you lose Hendon Hooker, you lose Hendon Hooker. You're not missing much. And sometimes you have to cut ties and cut your losses when they're there. And so, in essence, I think I got to tease it. I think Dan Campbell said something without saying it. It's the S word. Oh boy. I think just now I figured it out based on what is going to happen this week with Hendon Hooker. Oh man, I think I figured it out right here, this very second. If you want me to skip to it, leave a super chat. $10. No. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, get your questions in. We'll have some room. It's going to be a shorter show today for sure. Got to get to I got to hang out with the family, but I think you guys know if you're smart with what Dan Campbell said about Hendon Hooker. But let's start with the news of the day across the NFL. The contract stalemate is still going on with the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. So at this point in time, the Bengals are listening now and accepting to, willing to listen to trade offers for one of the most talented defensive end in the National Football League. And Trey Hendrickson, 17 and a half sacks, wants a big contract extension, though. That's the sticking point. The Lions could take on his contract this year, but they don't want a player that's getting up there in age to be on the roster, especially when you have so many players in the future that you got to extend. But the Bengals are accepting trade offers. And could the Lions make one? Do you think the Lions are going to make an offer? At least suggest, hey, that they're interested, that there's a report that, hey, recently they picked up the phone and inquired. I think that's the basic of what you could expect from Brad Holmes, is that he knows what it takes, maybe multiple first rounders. He knows that it's going to take a massive contract offer. But I would like to hear just a little bit that the Lions are interested, that they tried and maybe got beat out, that the contract that's offered is massive by a team like the Browns or somebody else. You just would hate to see it if it goes to a competitor like the Rams or the Commanders or the Eagles, Packers. You just would hate to see Trey Hendrickson land with somebody that's going to compete with you. But the Bengals are listening to trade offers. Should the Lions really look and reconsider their plan? Because right now, we all know, you guys are tired of hearing it. We all know that the Lions are not anywhere near the favorite to land Trey Hendrickson. It just doesn't add up. The math isn't mathing. But I would like to hear that Brad Holmes was in the mix. The math ain't mathing. It's just there's just too many factors that would preclude the Lions from landing Trey Hendrickson. But I wonder what it's going to take. How many first round picks would it take? What kind of extension needs to be given? I think DFLP IG understands. I don't think the Lions could afford Trey Hendrickson. Welcome, U of M Dad. What's up, boss? It's a good Sunday. Hitting the news of the day. Quick hitter. All the good stuff that we got to talk about. The Bengals are listening and willing to move on from Trey Hendrickson. I think it seems like as more time passes, it seems like the bridge is burning ever so hot and hotter. I don't know. If you're a player and a team takes that long to understand what you're about and what you want, I don't know. And I think everybody's aware here in town that the money allocated to that is going to be allocated to a lot of Brad Holmes guys is going to be hefty. Yeah, everybody knows it. Hutch, Campbell, Gibbs, Laporta, JMO, a lot of decisions to make. So I just think that it always feels like a pipe dream, but you always have to talk about it because you never know. It would be out of left field. But do you think that at least at the very basic level, the Lions inquire? Do they at least try? Is there an offer that they could make? Hit me in the comments. First round pick, multiple. What would it take? Will Brad Holmes call? Should he call? Man, it just feels like a pipe dream. It would feel like it would supercharge the expectations for the Lions and give the Lions a little bit of fans relief that they have a little bit more depth along the defensive end, along the defensive line and at the defensive end position. We have a round table. I asked Christian and Vito to give me their thoughts on the depth so far, what they think. Al-Quadin Muhammad, Nate Lynn, is that enough? We don't know yet about the potential injury to upper body injury to Ahmed Hassani. We don't know how long it could be. There's wide-ranging thoughts about what it could be. So you don't know. You can never have enough defensive line depth. And so I do think that many people feel like, okay, the best option is Darius Smith. What do you guys think? I'm curious. All right, I teased it earlier, and I want to start with this. Actually, I'll preface it with this comment. Many projections are going to come out. You're going to see every single editor tell their writers, hey, do a 53-man roster projection after this week, after the Dolphins game. The one that Christian did, I think, was fairly accurate. Pretty good job. I liked what he presented. I'll share it. I'll go to our site and share it with you guys and get after it and share what he had. But in the end, there's some projections I'm reading from others that have Hendon Hooker still on the team, not willing to cut him, taking up a spot. It is my opinion that the Detroit Lions should not keep 3 quarterbacks on the initial 53-man roster. You have depth needs in certain spots, cornerback, offensive line, linebacker. I just think sacrificing a spot when you need depth across the board in a critical year, I think is a waste of a roster spot. The Lions haven't done that in the last couple of years. I think 2 quarterbacks should come out of training camp. You have to subject Hendon Hooker to waivers, and you have to understand that, hey, if someone takes him, it just didn't work out here. I don't think that in 2 years you're going to have a massive risk that he's going to go out and dominate the league somewhere else. I think right now he's just fighting to remain a backup in the National Football League. 2 quarterbacks is in my opinion, the right move. Am I wrong? Do you guys think that the Lions should keep 3 and just keep on developing Hendon Hooker? Because what I'm about to share with you, I think is what's happening. I think I hit on something when I started this broadcast that I think is going down as an option potentially that the Lions could go down with Hendon Hooker. I think that 2 quarterbacks, you understand that Kyle Allen is a quarterback that has played very well, has been a player that has won a job. He's been consistent and he's found answers in tough times. He's played with 2s and 3s, and he's been able to move the football and get after it. So it's my opinion that the Lions, coming out of this training camp, when it comes down to it, that Tuesday after the Houston Texans game, you need 2 quarterbacks on this 53-man roster. What do you guys think? Silent. Absolutely not. Hooker hasn't shown any tangible improvements that show up on the field. Exactly. You can't. What would you sacrifice? What roster spot would you sacrifice? I feel like I'd rather have depth at a different spot than keep another quarterback. And I understand the elevations. You keep potentially. I do think that maybe a Kyle Allen would have an opportunity to go somewhere else if he got cut. I think that his cap number is reasonable, and he showcased on tape that he's worth something. I think a team would definitely be willing to offer him something. You have him, and I think Kyle Allen has earned the job. You could gamble and you could try to expose Hendon Hooker to waivers. And if no team claims him, you got him on your practice squad. It's a gamble, but it's one in which if he leaves, okay, you go find one of the other backups that gets cut. You can't rely on Hendon Hooker. Everybody knows it. Everybody understands what's going on. Everybody understands the deal of what's going on. But now, what Dan Campbell said, we got to analyze, because I think I figured out right when I was starting to talk what is going down with Hendon Hooker based on what Dan Campbell said. But you guys let me know. When you read a 53-man projection that has Hendon Hooker on it as part of as three quarterbacks, I think that's wrong. I think that's also negligent. If you're Brad Holmes and you're putting this roster together, I think that's a negligent idea. You need just two. And you add another offensive lineman, you have another defensive end. If something goes down with Ahmed Hassani, what Dan Campbell said and where people are reading into it, and I could be wrong, but as I started this broadcast, I said something just hit me as an option that the Lions could try with Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, and first and foremost, I think a lot of players from the Lions that played against the Dolphins don't need to play. I don't need to see Jackson Meeks and Isaac Tesla play. I think they've done enough. And you just evaluate what they do in practice this week. You got a joint practice. Let Jackson Meeks get up there with the twos and see what he can do and make your evaluation. You don't need to expose him to any more injuries. You just lost probably potentially, at least for a period of time, Ahmed Hassani. We don't know yet the severity of the injury. But what Dan Campbell said was, we want to still see if we can develop him. No, that's not. That was code. And I cracked the code. The Detroit Lions are shopping Hendon Hooker. That's what they're doing. They're going to try to put as much positive film out there so that they can get a fifth for him. Dan Campbell indicated that. Why would you do that? Well, clearly, one reason is Hendon Hooker still needs a lot more work. Two, Kyle Allen, you don't want to risk getting him injured in the game against the Texans. You got your backup. You know it. So to get Hendon Hooker a lot more reps, you have a chance to get a couple reports and a couple, hey, nice practices, a little bit of buzz. Maybe Brad works the phones and he has a good game. You got to hope that Hendon Hooker plays the whole game against the Texans and does something. Not so that he can get praise from the reporters and have content creators say, oh, look, he actually is worth keeping. No, they're shopping him. It is my opinion, they're shopping Hendon Hooker. They want at least as much opportunity for him to get good press, good reps, a good game. They know the total picture as we sit. They're meeting today. As I'm talking to you, the meeting's probably already happening. They're cracking over some Chipotle and going, man, we got an issue at backup. Hendon didn't win the battle. Hendon Hooker is going to get a lot of reps this week. Is my theory crazy? Is my theory. I think they're shopping Hendon Hooker to try and trade him. Now, it might not be successful, but you need Hendon Hooker to have a good week, not to win a job, but to boost any sort of value from a 7th rounder to a 5th rounder. A couple touchdown passes. The problem is, if we're protecting him and not letting him play with Tesla and Meeks, it's going to be hard for him to shine throwing the ball all game to Tom Kennedy. I know, but there's always one. You can't say nobody, Broski Bear, nobody's going to trade for Hooker. You just need one that has a quarterback situation, an issue that feels like, hey, there's something there on tape. There's always one of those offensive minds that looks around the league. You call and say, hey, what do you think? Am I wrong? I think they're shopping him. That was the code. Superfan Hutch, sup, Doc? How's your weekend going? It's a great weekend. Nice weather. After this broadcast, going to get outside a little bit. We got a lot of good content on Lions on SI. You guys are crushing it. Oh, I should too. I'm going to. I got on Jim Rome, guys. Man, I didn't know until I was scrolling YouTube last night late after the game. I got on Jim Rome, man. I'm so happy. It was wild. It was wild. Jim Rome saw my Grant Stewart interview when he played it. Man, I was happy. I was a long time clone, long time. I went to the tour stop. One of the inspirations for me to do this job. It was crazy to see him get after it and get after my take. He saw it and he saw the aggregated stuff and he talked about it. See if I can pull it up here. I'll play it. It was awesome. Awesome stuff, man. I was impressed. That was really cool. It was cool. I showed my daughter. It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. Proud weekend. The site's doing well. The podcast is growing. You guys are supporting the daily endeavor, so it makes it fun. DFLP, a DLFPIG. I don't think a GM watching the tape and saying, wow, let's trade for him. If they do, it'll be a swap player or late round picks. Yeah, I understand his value is low, but if they'll accept a 7th rounder. Teams the Lions would accept anything. The Lions are shopping Hendon Hooker because that's an option. It's put him on waivers. I just think the worst option is keeping him on the 53-man. Would you keep him on the 53-man? I don't see any avenue that works or that makes any sense. I don't see that. I don't value that. I don't think that I would be happy to see that. I don't think you throw good money after bad. It's pretty much conclusive. The fan base doesn't trust him. I think that the way in which he performed was not good enough through the preseason, and 7 days is not going to turn around. You got to make these decisions. Is 1 week of Hendon Hooker going to jump him over Kyle Allen? I don't think so. That's not a fair evaluation. That's being a prisoner of the moment. Hendon Hooker's being shopped, in my opinion. Throw him out there, see what he can do, get him some run with the twos. He'll throw the ball at the Tesla in practice. Hopefully he does something on Thursday in front of the fan base. I will be out there covering it, most likely because I think it's just me. I don't know if the Houston on SI reporters come into town. No one's reached out yet. But I will watch the offense. J-Rod number 16. Did you happen to see Gabriel's debut yesterday for Cleveland? No, tell me about it. I saw the, kind of out of context clip that he had that people were reacting to about Shedeur, but it wasn't about Shedeur. J Hart, what'd you miss? I think that going off of the banner here, Dan Campbell said that he wants to give Hendon Hooker a lot of reps this week. They're protecting Kyle Allen from injury. And he wants, in my opinion, the reason why you would do that is you're shopping him. You want buzz generated. You want people to say, oh, well, maybe he had a good week, a good game, maybe against the Texans, some good film, and you trade him. They are shopping Hendon Hooker because a trade is out there. If you risk him to waivers, you could lose him. It's a gamble. But I'm okay with that too. And I think, too, it's not a bad thing for Hendon. Sometimes a fresh scene, another mentor, another set of eyes rejuvenates your career a little bit. I think he knows his ceiling has been met here in Detroit. Kyle Allen beat him for a job. Kyle Allen beat him soundly over 2 games and throughout practice. And simply put, for those that are like, well, Hendon Hooker got better this year, not good enough to beat Kyle Allen in a competition, that's a huge loss within the realm of an organization. You should have been heads and tails and miles ahead of Kyle Allen. You know the system. So that's a huge loss organizationally. You can't beat Kyle Allen in a competition by leaps and bounds. 10-8 rounds, both games. Done. It's just done. What's 1 week going to do? So to me, Hendon Hooker, the news of Dan Campbell having Hendon Hooker receive the majority of reps and snaps this week is him being shopped. That's my stance. Maybe you can convince me. Is Hendon Hooker being shopped? Why would you do that? We still want to develop him. How much development can one dude get in 7 days? He's getting shopped, guys. He's getting shopped. And at the very least, Drago, I think you agree with me. Exactly. Is that they are going to protect Kyle Allen because he's the backup. They know, okay, we got the guy. Let Hendon try anything this week. He's being shopped. I could be wrong, but convince me. Why would you? Clearly, you want to protect Kyle Allen. No more injuries, no more freak things against Texans with a guy that's trying to make a name for himself. You see Nuku there, made a name for himself on Zach Wilson. Blew through the block and got after it. Made a name for himself. Hendon Hooker's getting shopped, guys. That's my opinion on this Sunday. Convince me I'm wrong. They're trying to do anything to see if there's anything that an organization could see that they would take him off the Lions' hands. You're going to see a lot of 53-man roster predictions, and let's go through the latest one by Christian Boer. He did a good job. I love the way in which he conducts his business. Lions on SI, you can follow along. You can go there right now if you're watching. You can go there right now and check it out. I think he does a good job of getting after it and sharing his thoughts. And first and foremost, he made his editor happy by, first and foremost, everything adds up to 53, which is always good. In, Goff and Allen. Out, Hendon Hooker. I'm sorry, guys. You do not keep Hendon Hooker on this roster. It was earlier. If you missed it, it is my opinion that if you keep 3 quarterbacks, you are doing a bad job of roster building. You're doing a bad job because you have needs elsewhere. So, blowing it up here. In, Jared Goff. Out, Hendon Hooker. If I'm wrong, let me know. We could be wrong. 4 running backs. Gibbs, Montgomery, Reynolds, and Vaki. Now, if you're looking for another spot, guys, a point of debate that's going to happen this week, and maybe I'll address it in one of my daily podcasts next week. If you need depth somewhere else, it could be this week, Reynolds or Vaki. What would you think? I think Vaki has a little bit of a higher ceiling, good blocker, but Craig Reynolds is just better than him. I'm of the opinion you keep 4. I like this. Hopefully Sailors can end up on the practice squad. I think he's done enough. He's definitely a Lion, man. I think that he should be on the 16-man practice squad. I like this. Gibbs, Montgomery, Reynolds, and Vaki. 6 receivers. We went down from 7. But unfortunately, Lovett's out. St. Brown, J-Mo, Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, Isaac Tesla, and Jackson Meeks. He earned a spot. How do you look at his tape and go touchdowns, productive? He earned a nice chunk of change from his UDFA agreement with the Lions. Lovett, unfortunately, has had a camp that a 7th rounder typically has. It hasn't done a little bit, hasn't done much to get his name, and he's missed time. Guys, 7th rounders, I know they're draft picks, but this might be the one that doesn't make the team. Because I think Jackson Meeks, make the argument, I think he outplayed him. St. Brown, J-Mo, Patrick, Khalif Raymond, Tesla, Meeks, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Standard 3 tight ends. Maybe Horton sneaks in if you're Dan Campbell, if he can continue to block, but it's a tough battle for him. Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra are R3. Oh, look at that. If you guys didn't know, refreshed Detroit Lions on SI YouTube banner thumbnail. I like it. 10 offensive linemen. Sewell, Decker, Mahogany, Ratledge, Glasgow Skipper, Awosika, Manu, Jones, and Moody. Egwakun had a decent game. Could be a backup center. I do think he's got a spot if I were to do one. And he's battling, man. He's right there. He's right there on the bubble. We'll release a bubble, I think, today as well, or at the latest tomorrow. A roster bubble. Who's in, who's out. I like these linemen. I think the depth that has established itself has been pretty good. Aiden, Davenport, Hassanin, Elquidin Muhammad was a monster when you watch the film again against the Dolphins and Nate Lynn. I just don't think Agude and Ukwu, it's a numbers game. And we're going to talk about the defensive line depth in a roundtable that we're going to feature at Lions on SI. So make sure you stay tuned all day. Are you guys comfortable with the defensive line depth right now? Yes or no? 5 defensive linemen: DJ Reader, Tyleek, Roy Lopez, Pat O'Connor, Keith Cooper Jr. We still got Broderick out. Miles Adams is fighting for a job. Broderick is right there on the bubble. That's the true definition of a bubble. With one more good week, maybe he sneaks in. Maybe that's the spot that, you know what? You know what? It's the battle of the projects. Do you keep Hendon Hooker or Broderick Martin? I would just keep Broderick Martin. Just in case of an emergency. 2 emergencies. It's got to be 2 emergencies at this point. He's not your emergency defensive lineman. He's the emergency. If the first guy that comes in, if something happens to Lopez, you got Broderick Martin. He's the emergency backup. 2 emergencies. Not great, but not great, but keep him on the roster. I like these 6 linebackers: Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Barnes, Stewart, making a name for himself, Trevor Nowatzki, and Zach Cunningham. It makes sense. Pretty straightforward. I think that group is pretty set. Nick Whiteside, I think, has earned a spot, guys. Am I wrong? DJ Reed, Terry Arnold, Amik Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, and Nick Whiteside. Rock Ya-Sin is so versatile. He can do different things. He can be a reserve safety too. I think Whiteside has got the attention of Dan Campbell, and he's getting after it. Kennelly, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Avonte Maddox, and my man Ian. Kennelly. I thought Lawrence Strickland would give a little bit more competition, but it hasn't worked that way. And your specialist, as has been. What do you think of Christians? A+, I think. A+. It's a good question. Who's out when Frazier comes back? Great question. Is it Moody? Is it Jamarco Jones? We'll see. Yeah, love it to the practice squad. The risk you take is somebody sees something, they get signed. The issue is, though, those that get signed have to jump to the 53-man. Fish and Church dude. I think Vaki out, too many injuries. Craig Reynolds was too good. Very fair, Fish and Church dude. Seems like the Sailors has earned a lot of respect amongst you guys. Much appreciated. That's really cool. What do you think of what Christian put together? I like every single one he's done. I've loved. I think he gets after it. He understands the work that you got to do to understand roster positioning and getting after it. I'm happy with it. Those are our current 53-man roster predictions. We definitely happily stack ours up against anybody else's. I just would, when I see 3 quarterbacks, that just means you're kind of, man, you're holding on to that last string for Hendon. Like you're holding on to that last hope to the end, going down with the ship. Everybody else has jumped off and gone to another ship. You're going on and you want to sink with the ship. Going down with the boat, putting 3 quarterbacks. Why would you do that if you're projecting it? Maybe it happens. I could be wrong. But I'd rather just put 2 and makes me sleep better at night knowing that there's another position of depth that you can add. Is how I look at it. Am I wrong? Let me know. 3 quarterbacks? That just sounds wrong. Dr. Detroit, what support do you have that Hooker's the man? Well, he has a chance this week to be the man. Actually, you're right. Hooker's the man. I think a team should come and give us a 3rd-round pick for Hendon Hooker. I see your hustle, Dr. Detroit. Very good. I'll blow it up a little bit so maybe the GM is catching it right now. Hooker's the man. I think another team would love to give up a 3rd-rounder for him. Good one. The man. He's great. Guys, he's getting shopped. He better be the man this week. Okay. Here's all 300 of you. Smash the like button. Here's what we're going to do. It's Sunday. Dear Lord out there, big man above, make number 2 shine this 7 days because we need those draft picks for brighter moments for these Detroit Lions. Give us these 7 days for Hendon Hooker to get after it. Just these 7 days, let his arm shine and stay healthy and his ball stay crisp. And let him play and dominate those Texans from Houston in these 7 days so that we can get a 4th-round pick. That's it. That's just the way it's got to be. He just needs the best 7 days of his life. He ain't winning a job by anybody, by any metric. You don't win a job in 7 days. That's not how you evaluate a team. It's a total picture. And I believe Dan Campbell is a total picture guy. But for these 7 days, we need those crispy, fast, zipped footballs to be delivered to the receivers. Football gods above, honor thy Lions with a chance to have a quarterback that plays well this week. That's the deal. All right. Our last segment, and I'll take questions. Thank you guys for understanding. Shorter show today. In and out, get to business, right to the steak and potatoes. Also, too, I can correct that little S there. Boom. Week 2, stock watch. Who impressed you? Who has disappointed you? It's a fascinating time when you look at the Lions. It's a fascinating time when you look at who has done well for themselves. I'm very happy with how everything went down this week. I thought it was a good week of work. You dominated the Miami Dolphins. We made noise. Guys, Miami now knows that, and their fan base has now been firmly planted as our little brother. Oh my God, dude. Their fans were celebrating a preseason win when our 2s won 14-7 in the first half. Their 3s beat us. Man, that's little brother behavior. I was shocked. I was like, I got more preseason talk than I ever thought I would from a fan base. I was like, dang, you guys don't understand football? It's the preseason. The Lions went 4-0 in 2008. And then went 2018 or 2008, whenever it was. And went 4-0 that preseason when they lost every game. Yeah, 2008. 2018 is in the midst of the terrible Matt Patricia era, which I want to erase. The Matthew Stafford era is 2009. The Lions went 4-0, and they lost every game that season. All right, so we're gonna go run through it. Let us know your thoughts. Thumbs up, thumbs down on what my thoughts are. Whose stock went up? Clearly, whose stock went up the most this week for the Detroit Lions? It's Kyle Allen. He won a job. The coach said directly into the camera, if you're asking me right now, I trust Kyle Allen. He's given us 2 good games. He's done a good job. Stock way down, Hendon Hooker. He's got to repair. He's got to repair a lot to be able to win back the trust and to potentially get himself in a position to have another team look at him. That's where he's at. He's the number 3, firmly. I think Sione Vaki had himself a nice opportunity there. I thought he blocked well. I thought that he showcased what he's about. Unfortunately, he hasn't done it consistently enough because of injuries. I think that the battle with Vaki, Craig Reynolds, and Jacob Sailors is pretty strong. I'm looking forward to it this week. I'm looking forward to that battle. Unbelievable battle that's going to take place this week. On the receiving side, Jackson Meeks and Isaac Tesla are going to get praised all week. They're going to get national run. They're going to get attention. They're going to be talked to. Jackson Meeks already on my YouTube channel with the questions I asked him. I opened the interview with him. And he's one of those guys that, even though he got in the end zone, he talked about feeling like he made an error in terms of his route running. That's strong. Made a play, but critiqued himself. I like that mentality. And also, too, stock up because he's got an inroad to talk to Za'Darius Smith. Isaac Tesla, man, I wrote an opinion piece. I think he's the Lions' Puka Nacua. Brad Holmes is happy he cleared up the mistake that he made in 2023. Stock way up. I think that guys like Tom Kennedy, Jacoby Keeney James, Ronnie Bell, good players, but not enough to shoot up anybody's draft board, shoot up anybody's depth chart, and not in a position to make the Lions 53-man. But a lot of them have a battle to get onto the Lions 16-man practice squad. So they're working their way up, but pretty clear the two young receivers are earning their stripes. I didn't think anybody from the tight ends really changed their spots. I think Zach Horton's got to do a little bit more to get after it. I think that Mason Miller showcased a little bit of progress at guard. They're showcasing he can play any position, but he struggled at tackle throughout camp. I think he kind of put some good film on tape for him being at guard. It helped him out a little bit. Moody, Egwakun. I think that Manu and Jamarco Jones did not really grade well from this contest, and I just don't think it was a good week overall for Giovanni Manu. So they got to step it up. Defensive ends, I feel like Al-Quadin Muhammad definitely made a case that it's going to be a difficult conversation. Maybe he steps in now if something happens further to Ahmed Hassani. You know that Nate Lynn and Isaac Ukwu are battling as well. I think Nate Lynn has the edge over Ukwu. Mitchell Agude just hasn't stepped it up to the point where you believe he earned a spot. That's tough. I think Keith Cooper, guys, keep listening to that name. Everybody pays attention to what Keith Cooper is doing. And I just think that Broderick Martin is showing flashes, but I think his number got called for the wrong reason against the Dolphins. And he got penalized, which is not good. And it's I just don't know. I don't know the future of what Broderick Martin is going to bring to the table. Everybody, I think, really has fallen in love with Grant Stewart. I think that his energy and the fact that he helped me make national news was great. He helped our project with one simple first interview. It was our first in-depth talk, and he just nondescriptly just says, hey, I don't think the Dolphins are ready. And the Dolphins fans were so sensitive, and it went national. It blew up our podcast, blew up our YouTube, blew up the website. I was very happy with that. Thank you. Zach Cunningham, I think, is a veteran that is making it difficult to really look at giving opportunities to Pittman and Turner. I think he's done a good job. I think Pittman's fighting an uphill battle. The biggest riser is Nick Whiteside. Dan Campbell is very fond of Whiteside. I just think that the others that have come in, like the Tyson Russells, the Luke Barcos of the world, the DJ Millers, the Alan Georges, they're in camp, but Whiteside makes plays. And he got noticed by the Dolphins on SI Writer. He's like, that Whiteside looks good. Kennelly and Rock Ya-Sin have just consistently played the game well. They've earned spots. I just think Lauren Strickland has not done enough to win a job. Those are the risers and fallers. Who's caught your attention? In my opinion, those are the key players, and highlighted by the fact that Kyle Allen won a job and Hendon Hooker didn't. Kennelly is the Grand Valley State kid. And so that's where it's at. So that's where it's at. That's where it's going down. Those are the risers and fallers. Any questions? Got 5 minutes left, maybe 10. Yeah, Broski Bear, I think everybody understands. There's UFA rookies who are much better prospects than Hooker. Scott, we got to have hope. Nobody's giving up a 7th rounder for Hooker. There are a lot of GMs that might do it. Just need one. Let's just hope. We're throwing it out there in the universe. Why are you splashing cold water on us? You're putting cold water down my pants. I did a prayer. Just have a good 7 days so that some GM thinks he can fix what's going on with Hendon Hooker. Maybe Max Splicer, AG, and Tanner could come calling. Maybe. So, what do you think about the risers and who's impressed you. Anybody's game that you have a question before we get out of here. But those are the risers and fallers. This is a good week. You got the Texans. We'll do a preview tomorrow. Tomorrow there's a practice. Tuesday is a practice. Wednesday, no practice. So we'll be back tomorrow, full on after practice. Probably, I'm trying to condense it to an hour and 15, because beyond that, then it's going to get to story time. And we know about Doc and story time. Sometimes you get steak and potatoes, sometimes a little appetizer, and there's a healthy mix of both. Maybe one, I think the way I'm going to try to do it is, and I think it's fair, is one, maybe 2-3 podcasts a week, Lions, live, maybe around the 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. hour, 1 p.m., maybe game one on a Monday, Tuesday, and then maybe a mailbox one where it's just all questions the whole time. I don't know. I'm working through it. I do want to do these podcasts live. Kibbles and bits from Phil. But I'm not sure when. Once, twice. But there'll be a recorded podcast, all that when the season starts. You guys have been supportive. Support's been good. The super chats have been fun. The super thanks, the memberships. It's been cool. Thank you. If you want to become a member, if I get to a certain level, then I will start dropping, some exclusives where it's just only for the members. Right now we got a handful. I appreciate that. That's really nice. Line up some interviews. See what it's about. What are you guys doing the rest of today? What's the plan for the rest of today? I'm just gonna hang out with the family, get some sun. Get your last questions in if you got them. We know your opinions on Hendon Hooker. The big questions today that I want your comments on: would you keep him on your roster still? 3 quarterbacks? No. Should Brad Holmes call about Trey Hendrickson? Should he just at least excite the fan base with the opportunity, or is that just too much of a tease? What does it mean? What are you reading into Dan Campbell saying Hendon Hooker is gonna get a lot of snaps this week? That just tells me no more risk for Kyle Allen, and let's shop Hendon Hooker and see if anybody takes a chance. Yes, Dr. Detroit, how'd you do? Just finished 18. I'm going to grill a steak and crack a beer. Cheers to you, Dr. Detroit, for checking in on your Sunday here. That means a lot to me. I should get out to the range. Maybe on Wednesday. Wednesday will be a personal day. Get the podcast done early, maybe a 10 a.m. one. Dr. Detroit will fib a little bit. He said he shot a 69 on the front 9. That's the best joke in golf. Shot a 51 on the front. Yeah. Oh, man. Golf is it really is a true test of mental acumen. How good are you mentally playing that game? Hope everybody enjoys their Sunday. And again, let's just listen. This is not self-praise. This is praise to you guys. This is a community. You're part of the community. And just set the table. When people say, "Oh, you talk about yourself too much," really, in the end, I'm just praising the community, the supporters, because you've put me here and you've given us an opportunity to have a sort of a platform. And this is crazy because one of my early radio idols is Jim Rome. And he went out there and he saw the Grant Stewart comments and he saw that the Dolphins were getting punked. And he went out there and his producer said, "Hey, the Detroit podcast put out some audio," and someone picked it up and he played it. So this is just a prideful thing to see one of the kings of smack. The king of smack heard about the Detroit podcast and shared his thoughts. I couldn't believe it. The king of smack, the legend Jim Rome, for a brief moment in time on his platform, shared his thoughts about the Detroit Sports Podcast. I couldn't believe it. It didn't hit me. Nobody shared it with me. It was wild. It was awesome. It was awesome. The king of smack was talking about the Detroit Sports Podcast. So these are 90 seconds talking about the stuff that was going on, man. That's really cool.
They had fair warning maybe I should call this a fair warning shot. This was Lions linebacker.
Can you hear? Is there audio coming? I'm not good at this stuff.
Earlier this week,
he's talking about
on the Detroit podcast, confidently predicting he called his shot. He called this team out. He called them soft in so many words. He said the Dolphins will not be ready to practice with us.
Yeah, for sure.
That's me.
And I don't know if they're ready, man. I'm going to keep it a stack just because I've played at other places and played against that team last year, and I joined practice against that team twice when I was in Tampa. And I don't know if they practice how we practice. So I'm excited to see our guys for sure. And I'm excited to get out there, do something against somebody else where they don't know every in and out of what we're doing and stuff. So that'll be cool, man. That'll be dope.
I love that. I don't know if they're going to be ready. I'm going to keep it stack. It's going to be nice to hit somebody other than our own. This is going to be dope. He called his shot. Not only did he know, not only did he call his shot, not only has he been around, as he points out. I know, I've been around. I've seen these practices from various vantage points. I'm telling you, they're not ready. Not only did he say that, it had already worked its way back to Mike McDaniel. It had already worked its way back to the Dolphins. They knew that guy was saying that about them. And it didn't matter. They still didn't practice.
That was courtesy of Jim Rome. Wow. Jim Rome. Man. And let me know if it's still playing. I think I muted it. You know, sometimes when you share the screen, all that stuff, all the technical gadgets. But Jim Rome spent a little bit of time talking about us. Small slice. And I didn't you don't think that the things that you ask people and the stories that you tell will reach that big of an audience. But that week was a good week. That was a good week. The Detroit Sports Podcast made a little news inadvertently. I wasn't trying to. I was just asking Grant Stewart a question. I was just trying to ask Grant Stewart a simple question about, hey, what do you think about the Dolphins? And he answered it, and it made news. It made big news, and it made me enemy number one in Miami. Heck yeah. They came back, and you know you've done something when the fan base chirps at you about a preseason win. I agitated them so much. I created so much noise that they got mad. All good. It meant a lot to me. Thank you for listening for the 90 seconds. It meant a lot to me because that wasn't my intention. It was inadvertent. I just asked, it was the last question I asked Grant. What do you think about joint practice? Simple as that. They ain't ready. And it hyped me up. And it set the tone for the whole week. As I went on other podcasts and said, guys, get ready. What was best was I got to hype up the Lions because it was factual. I felt what Grant Stewart was saying. I felt what he was saying. You know what? The Lions are hungry. They're about to hit. They're playing a team that's not as talented as the Lions. And that's what I told the Dolphins fan base to their face on podcasts. And they came and were like, well, that guy's a homer. And I said, no, I just think that, and I said it passionately. And I said, I think the Lions are going to show you why they're one of the best teams in the NFC. And they were like, you didn't praise us enough. Oh, well, I covered Detroit. And I didn't want to say what I wanted to say about Tua because then I would have lit up the fan base of Miami. But I think I got it was cool. The Detroit Sports Podcast, Lone Wolves, Lions on SI, spread ourselves all over like a virus, like I said, with the coverage of the Lions and Dolphins. It was a good week. Now we go to the next week. I'm proud of you guys. Thank you for your support. I can't do this without you. I can't share the wins without you. And I think you guys know the people that don't understand and don't follow, they pick and choose what they want to hear. Doc talks about himself too much. Well, how about you? Did you forget that every week, almost for a decade, I've said thank you guys at Detroit Podcast. As you see on the crawl there, my Twitter page, I've said thank you humbly. Thank you for letting me have this job. Not because of my skills. Thank you, the audience, who've said to other people, interview that guy. He's got something. Thank you humbly for putting me here. Thank you. And thanks for now starting to help me grow a YouTube channel. In my wildest dreams, I never would have thought it would hit 3,000 subscribers and growing. A couple new subscribers every day, new likes, new comments, new haters. and we'll just do it together. Thank you to the community listening. Hit that like button. Tell me what you thought about today's show. Did you like the fast-paced, quick-paced nature? Topic? Did you want me to go 2 hours and get after it? Let me know any of your thoughts on any of the topics. Hendon Hooker's getting shopped. Peace and love. Let's talk tomorrow.